Leo, happy March. This is Kajora Lovely with your general reading for the month of March 2019. You can also check out my video. I did a general video for all signs for the month of March where I talk about the astrology of what's going on, the moon cycles, and pulled some cards for the general themes that everyone's going through. So you might want to check that out to get a sense of kind of the overarching influences going on this month, because it's going to be an interesting one. Okay, by the way, I'm a tarot card reader, but I'm also a Reiki healer. I'm based in LA, and if you're interested in doing an in-person or distance reading or session, you can always email me. All that information is in the description box below, also including the link for my general monthly reading. Okay, so let's see what's going on with the sign of Leo for the month of March 2019. And for those of you that are curious, I am reading with the Radiant Rider-Waite. Oh, got cards falling out. So it's interesting, when I do these videos, I go with the astrological season, starting with Aries and then go all the way through to Pisces. So I've done a few of the other signs up until now, and for almost everyone this month, everyone's getting a lot of court cards, a lot of personalities. So I'll describe each of these, but it could be that these are actual people that are influencing your life, or it can be aspects of yourself. So of course, take them as it applies to you. But it looks like we're going to have a lot of interacting with other people. So, again, if you haven't checked out the general video, do, because I talk about Mercury being retrograde, which is going to be super fun because it's in Pisces and it's for most of the month of March. And I don't know what's going on. I guess I'll say this to you since you're my sign as well. Everyone has been getting the moon in the outcome position in reverse, which usually means that not doing shadow work, not looking inward when that is exactly what you are supposed to be doing. Or maybe it's because there's something you don't want to look at. And it's funny because the moon has shown up in almost every one of my readings on here when I do it in a general sense. So I'll just say this now, why not? Something to keep in mind as you go through this month. The moon is about shadow work. So if it's in reverse, it often means you don't want to do it. So shadow work is about looking at flaws or aspects of yourself that you're probably not super proud of, that maybe you wish didn't exist, situations you wish hadn't happened, that sort of thing. It's really about going within and doing some internal work. Now, as I look at this, I'm also remembering this is the card for the sign of Pisces. So it can also represent for some of you moving out of Pisces season, which as the sign of Leo, you probably like, because when we're moving in, at the end of this month, we're moving into Aries, which is another fire sign. So you'll be more comfortable in that sign. Pisces, you have to deal with emotions. Who wants to deal with that? Because, you know, as fire signs, you're definitely coming from a heart-centered place, but it's more of an action behind it as opposed to simply feeling, which is not always easy. Which brings us to where you are at starting this month. Having an emotional imbalance. This is the Temperance card. This can also represent the sign of Sagittarius. So it could be a Sagittarius you know that maybe isn't coming from a great place. Also, you have the Hierophant, because these both came out together, which can represent a Taurus. And what's funny is what's crossing them is the Emperor, which is the sign of Aries. So, got possible Sagittarius, possible Taurus, which could be the energy you're feeling right now, which is, well, Sagittarius imbalance. So it means that you're not necessarily feeling like you have an emotional balance. Your internal clock is off. Your internal balance is off. And that Something about, well, because you have the cups in here, the pouring, but there's something in here about pouring from, like, for some reason I'm hearing not pouring from a cup that's already full, or not, maybe not pouring into a cup that's already full. I would take that as it's not putting your information, energy into a place where it will not be accepted. So that can apply various ways, but it feels like not trying to change the mind of someone who's already got their mind made up, because they already know what they feel. Like the cup is already full, it'll just flow over. It could also be to know when to give, when to receive, even within yourself, knowing when to put in energy where, knowing how to find that balance between the two. I feel like it's mainly that balance within yourself. Hierophant. Sometimes with this card, I get to trust yourself. Trust yourself to find the balance. Well, it's interesting too, because March 21st is the vernal equinox, also known as Ostara. And that time, there's an even balance of darkness and light, of night and day. And so it can also be about finding that balance within yourself between those two aspects. It's also just about balance in general, that all of that can come up. And so it's also something to keep in mind that we're coming out of winter, starting spring this month. So you may be feeling all kinds of changes and feelings. The way I say that sounds like puberty. It might feel like puberty all over again if you have already gone through it. So what's influencing you is the Emperor. So again, this could be an Aries. So it could also be a situation or something that it's someone who's being stubborn, maybe a little hard-headed, it could also be the Aries energy coming into this month, the second half of this month, of it kind of like putting you on a war path or something. Oh, that's interesting. So feeling like maybe you have some power in your hands finally. It's interesting. Like you can finally, because the, it looks like a lemon, but whatever that is that he's holding, a little golden ball. It's almost like you're finally grasping something that you can finally hold on to and say, this is mine. So it could be that if you've been trying to like grab onto something and it's been sort of slipping through your fingers, you finally got a hold of something tangible that you can really say is yours. What's influencing you, the star, it could be a lack of hope. You might be feeling like a little down and out, like, are things really going to get better? Are things really going to turn around? Are things really going to be better in 3 months and 6 months and 9 months and 10 months from now? Like, is this, what's going on? Are things really turning around? So I'm going to see what their advice is for you there. Hold that hope. Don't lose faith. Celebration. So that means like there's something good coming, that celebrating with friends, a celebration, happiness of some sort when it comes to being with other people. So that could also be focusing on the good aspects of life. Also like the good life, the things that make you happy. But, you know, don't do it to excess because we're in Pisces season and that doesn't have any boundaries. Pisces wants to expand as much as it can. So it doesn't necessarily have borders. It doesn't necessarily know when to stop. So I would say if you do go out drinking, but you want to make sure you don't overdo it, then just keep that in mind. That you may want to stop a drink before you know it's a drink until it's almost too late. You see what I mean? Like stopping a little bit sooner. But it's your life. It's your choices. It's up to you. No judgment. These are your decisions. This is just the information. It is yours to do with as you wish. What's influencing you at the base is feeling scarcity, lack, seeing things that aren't there, or sorry, not seeing what is there, seeing things that aren't there. Not that one. This is like, you know, they're walking past this church. Are they going to go inside? They're not. This guy is a leper. She's an older woman. You know, he's not well. She's barefoot. They don't have a lot of money, but they're going past a church in the middle of winter, a place that would give them refuge, that would keep them warm, that would give them food, some shelter, bring them out of the cold. So it's also about not necessarily being so stuck in that mindset that you can't see when good things are happening. With that, I often see it with the fives, especially. It's often like you're kind of in a narrow view of like, no, all things are only bad. I'm only seeing this. And it's that kind of mindset of scarcity and lack, but also just focusing on what's bad and not necessarily seeing that there are other opportunities around you. So that it's often like, look around, see what else is there, because good news is coming. And these two cards came out together, by the way. So I find that interesting that they were very assuring, like coming out of that, moving into good news coming. So with this Eight of Wands is good news coming. Short-term future, potential relationship. This also can mean, this is also a sign for Gemini. This can also mean making a decision. Now, one thing I've recently heard about this card that I'll just put out there in case it applies to you, because I love this, is that the Gemini card with the Lovers is really about remembering that love in all of its forms is not separate from you at any point in time. It is always within you. It is always a part of you. It is always there with you. So, it's about not necessarily seeing it as, why is love separate from me? Why is love so hard for me to find? Why is love so difficult for me to find? Love's already in you. Really. It's really about loving yourself, practicing that act of self-love and acknowledging that all you have, all your needs are met inside of you. And another person, whether it's a friend or a romantic relationship, is simply an access point to provide you with to feel the love that is constantly available to you from the universe, that is abundant around you all the time. It's also kind of comes back to this. Are you going to see it? Are you going to accept it? Are you going to realize it? Now, so it could be that. It can also be making a decision about something, potentially a relationship or a relationship coming into your life. When it comes to relationships, with this card, I often see it as being aware that sometimes, because it relates to Adam and Eve, so it's also about not necessarily, thinking that everything is perfect from the beginning. This is really about taking your time and getting a survey of the situation, because it's kind of like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Like everything's nice, everything goes pretty well, and then all of a sudden you go to this one tree and boom, everything changes. So it sort of is that what's going to happen in this relationship. You do one small thing. Now, it could have been the very thing someone told you not to do, but obviously I'm not going to say that this is like cheating, because I don't really think it is, because you're talking about accessing knowledge in this case. So it could, and well, there you go, the direct translation for that. If you look in more into this person, if you seek knowledge about them, will that end the relationship because of what you find out? So don't feel like it's not worth looking into, though. You know, this day and age, you kind of need to do your research on people that you're dating. But I feel like with that one, the lesson is to trust your instincts. So also for where you're at, you've got the Hermit in reverse, which is a Virgo. So let's see. Just to... Oh, no, we're not done. Sorry. We've got Sagittarius, Taurus, Aries, Aquarius, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces energy in here, but also possibly Taurus. This is an earth sign energy. So you've got a lot of energy going on this month, and it could be a lot of personalities, a lot of energy coming into you, a lot of things going on, getting stirred up. You might be getting I hate to say it, but what I heard is like you might be getting the shit kicked out of you emotionally. Interesting. So also that it's interesting that just came up in this card, the Hermit in reverse, because this, when the Hermit is upright, it means that you're going inward, you're doing some work on yourself, you're retreating a little bit from the world, but it also refers to trusting your own guidance. So when it's in reverse, the question I have for each of you is, are you trusting your own guidance? Are you valuing your own self-worth? Are you seeing your true attributes for what they are? Really? Good and bad. Your successes, your failures, your highs, your lows, all of it. Are you seeing all of it within yourself, honestly? That's a tough one. That's a hard one. It's not always easy. And it kind of goes back to the moon card, which I started with, even though it's in the future position. But it's really, are you being honest with yourself about who you are, what you want, where you want things to go? Because there's a part of you right now that's feeling a little lack of abundance, a little lack of fertility this month, where you're feeling like, oh, this isn't quite what I want. So let me see if they have a, antidote or remedy for these. See where you want things to go. Explore the possibilities. It's almost like being vulnerable. Well, no, I'm hearing vulnerable, then take action. So maybe that you need to make yourself kind of vulnerable in order to take action. Yeah, and make a decision. So with that, I would say it's trusting your judgment, because this means if you've been in a point of deadlock, you have to, that period is over. You've got to make a decision about something. So in the future, you might be feeling a little imbalanced. So this can be you or another fire sign, an Aries or a Sagittarius who are in here, or and if it is, then it's somebody who's not necessarily got the best intentions. Because the King of Wands in reverse usually refers to somebody who is coming from a bad place, from ill intentions, I would say. They can be creative. If they're not a fire sign, then they could also just be someone who's creative. But I'm also hearing bombastic, someone who's a flamethrower. Interesting. So it's almost like they're using their power to harm other people. So if they have some creative talent or wit, they're using it to harm and injure other people. So if that's you, don't do that. Otherwise, I feel like it's what I'm hearing is advice to be caring and nurturing to yourself and to others. And that then comes with the moon of seeing things clearly. The Magician, remembering what you're capable of. This is all in the future. Remember what you're capable of. Use your gifts and talents. I'm hearing let nature take you. Interesting. So, let nature take you. Let nature take its course. Okay. Well, there you go. Let nature take its course. Let nature take you, I would say also as, and well, actually that kind of makes sense, is it's letting nature do its thing. I was going to say, otherwise you could also go sit in nature, which is never really harmful. Unless you're freezing. But, it's often restorative, regenerative, emotionally, can provide you with some emotional healing. But I feel like it's still, again, trusting yourself, trusting your own inner guidance, trusting that you know the right course of action for you to take. Yeah. Then there may be some conflict with some people. You may be having some arguments. This can mean litigation. It's usually verbal conflict. But it looks like, yeah, it's funny because the one who this person stands out, which I often see, is like, you're going to be triumphant, which you are, because then you've got the Six of Wands, which comes right after that card. Now, it is in reverse, so that means that there's a delay on that success. Now, I think that this is in the general reading as well, so if you haven't, definitely check that out. But, or no, it was the Page of Cups in reverse, but they're kind of similar in the sense that, there will be a victory. There's a delay. The outcome may not be exactly or specifically what you thought you wanted or what you wanted. For some reason I'm hearing, but things can still happen according to plan. So I'm guessing that some of you have some plans in motion, and you'll still see a way to get what you want out of it. So that actually could make sense with the conflict with all these personalities coming in, because you've got a lot of other people's energy in here. Because I wouldn't just say that if it weren't for these specific cards that are about specific signs, because they're the major arcana, which are the sort of the big influences in your life. They're the major players, the key players. So you may be dealing with a lot of other people's energy, but it looks like there's still some celebration. There's some good news. Trusting yourself, knowing yourself this whole time. So I would say that also goes in with all these other influences, which means not letting other people influencing you and trying to just sway you from who you are really. And hearing like it's your moral high self. As in, what is the higher road you'd want to take? What is the moral road you want to take? What is in line with your own morals? What do you think is the right course of action that you feel like no matter what happens? Because I feel like you may have to make some choices that you don't really want to make. But at the same time, it's that you will have to say, I know in my heart I did the right thing. It might have made somebody upset, or it was sort of, I almost see like as there's the storm going on swirling around you, and you're like, I know that I can live with what I chose to do. Not even like what you did, but it's more like you stood back and thought about it and thought, you know, maybe this person wants me to do this and this person wants me to do that, and the road I want to take, I'm going to piss off both of them, but that's the one I can live with. I have to live with myself. So that could also be this, coming back into remembering that love within yourself. So if you have conflicts with other people, it's also remembering you have to love yourself first. It's the longest relationship you'll ever have. And for Leos, it's complicated, right? Because you love yourself, you see yourself as fabulous, but also we can have those flaws where we want to be adored. We want to be showered with attention. We like having our little fans around, not little fans, but we like having people tell us good things about ourselves. It feels good. We like being in the limelight. It's not necessarily a bad thing unless you turn it into a bad thing. But it's important to recognize and analyze situations where you feel like you might be exploiting people or maybe putting people in danger. So it's not about that. It's about taking the moral high road. And Leos are also ruled by their heart. So it's really, what can your heart handle? What can your heart live with? What would not hurt your heart to do? You know, what is it that whatever stance you take, even if you move into a situation where you say something and then you say nothing, you still feel like you made the best possible choice considering the scenario. Okay. Whew. All right. Well, sending you guys lots of love and strength this month. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will see you again next month.